Donald Trump spent this past weekend proving to everybody that he is just totally delusional, completely has no grasp of reality whatsoever, and that he is, as I've frequently said, likely suffering from dementia. And he didn't just do this during one event. He did it throughout several events all across this past weekend leading up into Monday, folks. And it all, of course, began when Donald Trump insisted to a reporter that Portland, Oregon, where he, of course, tried to send National Guard troops, but his own Trump-appointed judge told him, nope, you can't do that. This is based on lies. But Trump still insisted the city of Portland is, in fact, burning to the ground as we speak. Like, it's just gone on fire. There's insurrectionists roaming the streets that have taken over the government to the point where officials in the state, the reason they're saying there's nothing wrong with Portland is because they're terrified of these insurrectionists who are now apparently controlling the local government. Obviously, the most insane thing that a human being could possibly say that has no bearing in reality. There's videos of Portland right now. It's a normal, peaceful city. People are going about their days. Nothing in the city is on fire. But never let the truth get in the way of a good lie, right, Donnie? I will show you the clip in just a moment, but first, a word from today's video sponsor. By now, you know Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed. But almost no one's reporting how ICE will get nearly $40 billion of our tax money each year, making it the most heavily funded law enforcement agency in U.S. history. That's more money than most nations spend on their entire military. So much of our media is either missing the worst of this bill or twisting the language so you think it's all in your best interest. But we've seen the ICE raids ramping up. Now Trump's openly threatening to deport U.S. citizens. This should be the biggest story in America, yet it's buried. Making ground news essential right now is what all of this is doing. They're the only tool I've found exposing these blind spots in the media. By gathering the world's news in one place, organizing it by story, then analyzing just how far-right and radical each unbiased source actually is, you get way more context than you ever would anywhere else. If we're being honest, we've seen Trump's power grabs throughout history. They said never again, and that means never again everywhere. And right now, it's happening here. So if you want to stay ahead on immigration, the economy, or simply finding the stories missing from your news feeds, Ground News has you covered. Their app and website is a smarter, more reliable way to stay informed at a time when MAGA is banking on us to stay distracted. So I've partnered with them to get you 40% off the same Vantage plan that I have been using. That comes out to $5 a month for unlimited access to everything I've mentioned and so much more. Just go to ground.news/Farron or scan the QR code to subscribe. With at least another 4 years of this, we can't afford to miss these details.
We're going to look at that. It was amazing. Portland is burning to the ground. It's insurrectionists all over the place. It's Antifa. And yet the politicians who are petrified. Look, the politicians are afraid for their lives. That's the only reason that they say, like, there's nothing happening. And you've seen it. The place is burning down, and they pretend like there's nothing happening. So we'll take a look at the order. We haven't seen the order yet.
Nothing that Donald Trump said in that clip is true. Not a single thing. This is all fake. Not only is it all fake, but the judge, the Trump-appointed judge who struck down him sending the National Guard into Portland, also told us none of this is true. In the ruling that came down on Saturday, blocking Trump from deploying National Guard into Portland, the judge said, this is all based on fabrications and fallacies. Like, you've just made stuff up to justify this, so no, I'm not going to do this. Portland is not burning to the ground. Antifa has not taken over the city. People are going to work. People are enjoying their days. They're having meals outside at a cafe right now because none of this is actually happening. But as I said, that's not the only delusional thing Donald Trump said over this weekend. He also did a little pep rally with a bunch of sailors and said that he was in better shape than Barack Obama. Going back to Trump's first term, he said even in his first term, he was in better shape than Obama. Now, typically, I don't like to talk about the way people look. I don't like to get into that. I don't like to, judge one against the other. But let's be real here, folks. Anybody who has the ability to see can tell that Barack Obama is in better shape than Donald Trump, especially back in the first term. Trump's lost a little weight since then, but Trump was a big fat lump of lard in that first term, and that's when he says that his doctor said, "You're in better shape than Obama." Here is what Trump told the sailors. "A man that everybody loves. He was my doctor at the White House, and I got to know him very well. He was also the doctor for Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? He was a doctor for a man named George W. Bush. And at a press conference, they asked him who's in the best shape, who's the healthiest, who's the strongest, who's the best physical specimen of the three. He said, 'That's easy. President Donald Trump.' And I said, 'I love this guy.' I said, 'I love him.' Ronnie Jackson, he's now a congressman, So he was an admiral. He was a chief doctor. He was the whole boss of doctors, and now he's a very, very successful congressman from Texas. Thank you, Ronnie, and I appreciate those words. I'll never forget them." Well, you've forgotten which countries you've supposedly ended wars with. You forgot what year you were inaugurated. You forgot all kinds of things over the years, but you never forget the kind words, do you? The praise, right? The adoration. That sticks with you because that's the only thing that matters. Plus, your dementia-addled mind can only retain so much info, so I'm sure you only hang on to the good while forgetting all the bad. So, yeah, I don't think you will ever forget that. Even if you're a drooling puddle by the time you end your term because dementia has taken over completely, you'll still remember those words, even though, again, anybody with the, sense of sight can tell that that's not the case. Now, George W. Bush, I don't know, he looked a little frumpy at times, but I think he was also probably in better shape than Donald Trump. But you're lying to these people's faces. You're lying and telling people I'm in better shape than Obama. Everybody knows that it was obvious to this doctor. And no, he wasn't respected. He lost his license. He was accused of drinking on the job. Maybe that's why he's like, "No, man, you totally look better than Obama. Yeah, you're so fucking hot, dude." Maybe if he was drinking on the job, that would make sense. But the point is, Trump is delusional. And that's probably not a good thing for the guy in charge of America's nuclear arsenal, right? I mean, the guy in charge of the military trying to send U.S. troops against U.S. citizens, probably not good to have somebody completely delusional in that position. But that is what we have. That is the reality we have to deal with. We're dealing with a president who doesn't deal in reality, but we still have to. There is something deeply wrong with this man and his brain, neurologically and psychologically. To the point where there was even an article from The Guardian over the weekend talking about Donald Trump's steep mental decline and how now world leaders are starting to fret about it. Okay, this isn't coming from just me. This isn't coming from just leftist media here in the United States. Mental health professionals in the U.S. are warning us. Mental health professionals overseas are warning us. World leaders outside of the U.S. are worried about it because they see it too. This represents a clear and present danger, not just to us here in the United States, but to everybody on the planet. The commander-in-chief of the world's largest and best-funded military is completely delusional. He's randomly attacking boats in the Caribbean. He's launching illegal strikes. He has unleashed the military against U.S. citizens. And all of this, as far as we can see, is based on this alternative reality that the President of the United States is living in. Thanks for watching, everyone. You know, we're inching closer and closer to 1 million subscribers, and we're aiming to hit that goal before the year closes. So if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and don't forget to like, comment, and share. Thanks for joining us as we head towards this huge milestone.